The Alan Healy Memorial Rally, organised by Border Motor Club at Cadwell Park, marks the penultimate round of the Protyre Circuit Rally Championship. And with a good run here this weekend, along with the haul of points that comes with it, the title could indeed be sewn up with one round to go. Fastest out of the blocks will be Don Buckley, Michael Wassling alongside. Don has only been out on 2 rallies in the last 18 years, so that wasn't a bad start at all. They were, of course, not here for championship points, just for a one-off outing, so their lead wasn't going to factor into the potential championship decider here in the Lincolnshire Wolds this weekend. Leading the way after the morning stages were complete will be Michael Igoe and Will Atkins. They were doing exactly what they needed to do to defend their championship, staying ahead of the competition and by 8 seconds. Not comfortable, but crucial. That lead over the Skoda pair of John Griffiths and Emma Morrison, who felt that it could have been worse when they got the hairpin wrong and lost a bit of time. Thankfully, though, it wasn't as bad as they'd expected, and they were still in with the chance of victory and indeed that title battle this weekend. Sam Touzle and Tommy Henderson would end the morning in 4th. They were out getting some more seat time in the car before they both split off and head to the Isle of Man in separate cars. Things going well so far for the Jersey driver. Impressive as ever, Chris West and Keith Hounslow would once again be leading the way in Class C, pushing that 306 Maxi to its limits at times, but enjoying themselves on these stages at Cadwell, especially on the faster open sections of the stage, where indeed this car performs its best. For the ever-entertaining John and Alex Stone, it will be a new car this weekend, hiring a Skoda Rally 2 for the day and loving how the Skoda RS handles. They were lying in 6th place overall for now, a strong start in an unfamiliar car. This weekend, we see Paul Wedgbury with former WRC co-driver Gemma Price out in the Skoda Fabia Proto car. The last time we saw Paul was on the Northwest stages in 2022 when he had a big accident. So it was great to see him back out and on the pace once again in 7th overall. Mark Gallatley and Harriet Worth were getting some more valuable seat time in the Fiesta, and things were going well. 8th place, not a bad way to end the morning after starting to climb the right way on that leaderboard. Meanwhile, James Garner and Callum Young will be back out in the former championship-winning Darien once again. And could you blame them with ideal Darien weather here in Lincolnshire this weekend? They slide their way into 9th place overall in that ballistic missile for now. We saw Phil and Kate Burton taste success last time out at Donington Park, and they enjoyed that taste so much they came back to their local rally. They'd have a good run to lead Class B at the end of the morning stages in that Maple Garage Subaru, as well as rounding out the top 10 overall. Things were not going to plan, though, for Peter Outram and Gemma West. They'd crash into the bales on the brand new section of stage through the service area right in front of the spectators, retiring soon afterwards. For Michael and Harry Threlfall, though, it will be 2nd place in Class B at this stage. They were going well overall as well, 17th place in the Evo. A small mistake, though, as they come out of the new section of stage would lose them a few seconds with an overshoot. Worst would be in store, though, for Paul Pickett and Paul Minard. They'd been 3rd in Class B, but would unfortunately crash out at the bottom of the mountain, damaging the rear of the car too much to continue and having to call it an early day. In Class D, it was the lead for Joseph and Daniel Duffy in the Lotus. They were going well overall as well, the pair lying in 11th overall in that new look sports car. And 2nd in the class was Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones, the original riffraff. They were enjoying putting on a show for the spectators and were just 3 seconds back from the class lead. Not bad in a hired car. 12th place overall as well. And in Class E, it was perhaps the prize for the best-looking car. It was also the lead for Ben and Andrew Wilkinson. They were pushing that glorious 106 Maxi, and it looked fast in that almost works colour scheme. They were also in a good position overall in 15th for now. 2nd in that class were Chris Woodhouse and Lucy Wilding. Back in Class E this weekend in the Peugeot, as the new Rally 2 Fiesta would soon be on its way to the Manx Rally. And Class F will belong to Jonathan Hudson and Amy Wolstenholme at this stage. They were lying in 27th place on the overall results, as well as having the class lead for now. Amy finds her roots in road rallying, and it was certainly paying off on these Cadwell stages. It was a good lead in the class as well, with Thomas Milne and Neil Jeffrey a little way behind, as they take second in the class, 41st overall for now. So with the morning complete, here in the Lincolnshire Wolds, and plenty of action and drama already shaping up on these new look stages, here's a look at how the leaderboard was shaping up. Onto the afternoon stages then, and stages which the competitors have loved this weekend, and there wouldn't be any change in Class F. Thomas Milne and Neil Jeffrey holding on to that position into the final stages, holding off any advance from behind. But taking victory in the class will be Jonathan Hudson and Amy Wolstenholme. A good lead from the pair in the micro from the start. We would see them take the class win and 25th overall. In Class B, it was all change. We see new names in all of the top places. And taking second in the class will be Stephen Johansson and Colin Stevens, taking 16th place overall on the leaderboard in the Subaru. And taking a well-deserved and delighted victory was Neil Beaumont, Dylan Thomas alongside. They had their issues throughout the day, including a gear shift issue when changing into 6th. But that didn't stop them from pushing for that class victory and making up for that non-finish last time out. We'd sadly lose local pair Bill and Alex Rutledge. The Nova pair had been going well, pushing the car to its limits in places here at Cadwell. But it will be the hairpin on stage 6, seeing their rally come to an end when they rolled, caught here on fan cam. For Chris Woodhouse and Lucy Wilding, it was second place in Class E. They might not have been as high up on the overall results as they could have been in the new Fiesta, but with their championship all sewn up, it wasn't worth risking the damage on that Rally 2 car before the Manx. And taking the Class E victory will be Ben and Andrew Wilkinson. A combination of good times, plenty of attrition would see them also rounding out the top 10 overall by the finish. A flavour of Formula 2 for the spectators at Cadwell Park. The afternoon stage layout wasn't going to be easy on the crews, and the leaderboard would see a lot of shake-up, one of those being previous 10th place crew Phil and Kate Burton. They clip a tyre, rolling the Subaru onto its side and into the Armco. A disappointing end to what had been a pretty impressive run up until then. We'd also lose Sam Toozle and Tommy Henderson. They had been well inside the top 10, but would call it a day, retiring in stage 7 in that Fiesta Rally 2. Paul Wedgbury and Gemma Price wouldn't get the finish that they came here wanting on their return to the stages. They came in from stage 5 and couldn't get the car started again. That Subaru engine calling game over. It was a disappointing end to what had been a pretty good run. And we also lose Mick and Ben Jowers in the Escort. The pair had been going well in the championship overall this season, but this weekend wasn't to be. They tried to overtake before the mountain and run out of road. The two cars colliding, sending them onto the grass and into the Armco. They were unlikely to be at the final round anyway, but this would cement that for them as they wouldn't have time to get the car ready now. Back to those competitors having a bit of a more clean run and finishing with 9th place overall this weekend will be Joseph and Daniel Duffy in the Lotus. They would also secure themselves second in Class D. For the eagle-eyed among you, that was of course a change around from this morning when they led the way, but the afternoon would see Martin Hodgson and Tony Jones getting used to Ramby's car to step up to take that class win, as well as finishing just 6 seconds ahead in 8th overall. For James Garner and Callum Young in the Cruise Missile, it will be second place in Class C for the Darien this weekend. They'd have a good run to also take 7th place on the overall leaderboard as well. Mark Gallatley and Harriet Worth had put some great miles under their belts in the new car and would be rewarded with another 6th place finish just like they'd achieved at the previous round at Donington Park. And for John and Alex Stone, it will be 5th place overall. Fair to say they enjoyed the weekend in the Skoda. It might be time to start writing an early Christmas list and seeing if one ends up in Legend Performance colours later in the year. A bit of frustration for our early leaders, Don Buckley and Michael Westling. They would drop down from the lead into 4th overall. They misjudged this hairpin, ending up unable to get the car into the right gear to get moving again. Valuable time lost, the clock ticking away, positions given away, and they do still finish in 4th place overall, nevertheless, after that great start. On to those podium positions then as we get into the final few miles of this, the penultimate round of the championship. It will be a 3rd overall for Chris West and Keith Hounslow. They were pushing that 306 Maxi to its limits throughout the day, putting on a real show for the spectators as they compete with much newer and supposedly more capable machinery. Chris has other things to say, of course. That result, seeing them taking the Class C victory this weekend. There was nothing more that John Griffiths and Emma Morrison could give us. The former champions unable to reel in the rally leaders before the end of the day, having to settle for 2nd place this weekend, missing out on rally victory by just 7 seconds. And that means after a dramatic and fast day here at Cadwell, it is victory for Michael Igoe and Will Atkins. And with it, they do what they needed to do for the championship narrative. And with Griffiths and Morrison only able to improve the score by 7 points on the final round at Anglesey in a week's time, it means the Citroën pair are provisionally the Protyre Circuit Rally champions once again. So the penultimate round of the championship is complete. Here's a reminder of how those overall results shaped up. Next up, for one final hurrah, the crews head to Anglesey. And with just 1 week to get the cars sorted and with a little bit of damage to figure out, it would be a frantic end to the season. The overall title may be decided, but there are still lots of class battles to be had in Wales, and we will see you there.
No, it's been a great day. As I said, I was just doing a report then with Motorsport News, Paul Lawrence, and from the outside you can get kidded of how times are looking, on raw pace, but with the traffic and stuff, it can make a massive difference of just how it falls. And some stages it works for you and some stages it works against you. I don't think it ever goes against John Griffiths, though. It always goes the right way. Black Cat comes to Ports. Very, very lucky man.
You can't hear you, I don't think.
But yeah, no, it's been a great day.